To examine the results of our experiment, the first thing we need to do is select the job type. Ours is a GAM, a Geographical Analysis Machine run, and then we need to select the successful run, which was the analysis of men's cycling road race. We then get this summary information along the top here, so we can see how long the experiment took to run on the server, and we can see the actual settings that we used within the algorithm. So we've got our search terms, the level of overlap, the radius increment, and the minimum and maximum values here for the radius sizes, and then the significance threshold for the test. So we have a complete history of how we've set up the algorithm. At the bottom of the screen we can see a map with two slider bars across the top and a checkable list of layers against our map, and this area here is a summary for individual clusters, which we'll come back to in a few minutes. The main question behind the experiment design here was to try and define the cycle road race route by looking at the clusters of tweets along the way. So to this end we're going to take up the other layers from the map and just leave behind this clusters layer. This is actually the drawing of every significant circle saved in the results. So this is a visualization of each circle drawn to the radii that the search was conducted at. Along the top of the map up here we have two sliders, one for the radius of the significant circles drawn and one for the, as it's termed here, quality. This is the value, the difference between the observed and expected relating to each significant circle. So if we alter the size of the search circles by adjusting the slider, when we release the slider, the screen interactively adjusts with our filter settings. We're now only viewing radiuses between 500 meters and 2,513 meters, so effectively 2,500 meters. We can also adjust the quality or the difference between the two observed and expected values. So if we're now looking at only those values between 25.84 and the maximum, which was 61.2, and you can see that all of the groups of clusters that were formed around the Hartlepool, Liverpool, Manchester and Newport, Cardiff areas have all disappeared, just leaving this one group of clusters down here in the London area. So if we zoom into this group of tweets here, and if we keep our quality slider reasonably high and then change the values associated with our radius, we can actually see that the route of the cycle race starts to emerge. So you can see progressing further and further out. So the route actually came down around this area as a loop around here, back up and looped back round and into London. If we reduce the difference between the observed and expected and keep adjusting these values, we can see this pattern emerging. We can definitely see two groups of clusters, one around the actual back side of the route around Box Hill area just under Leatherhead, and this area here which was the main drag out and finishing straight, so the start and finish straight, and round the first loop of the circuit. Having seen that we can trace the route of the road race quite effectively using the clustering algorithm, we will reset our map and our sliders and start to ask a few other questions around the remaining groups of clusters of tweets that we can see on the map. A little bit of research into some of the areas around where we can see these clusters outside of London has produced some quite interesting results. There's quite an active amateur cycling club in Hartlepool, which is around where this group of tweets can be seen here, these clusters of tweets can be seen here. Again, around this area here, this Manchester area, that's where the Great British team is based, and the velodrome, Manchester Velodrome. We have 4 active amateur cycling clubs in the Liverpool area. They are Swift Cycling, Liverpool Mercury, Liverpool Phoenix and the Whirl. We also have the Welsh Velodrome located just near Newport and Cardiff here, which is quite interesting. And these tweets over by Chelmsford, that's actually where Ian Stannard was born, one of the Cycle Great British members. Stannard's last name is featured here. Chelmsford is actually where he's from, which is quite interesting to see that you can actually pick out activity areas from the geographical clustering of tweets. The general interest within these areas is high around cycling. If we zoom into one of these areas outside of London, let's have a look at this one down near Southampton, and have a little bit of a closer scrutiny at what actually constitutes the cluster. If we click on the cluster itself, we get a summary over here. So we get the cluster ID, which is 1355. This relates to the ID of the cluster in the actual file results that you receive from the algorithm. There's 6 tweets which make up this cluster, and we have the actual text relating to each of the tweets listed in this area underneath the summary. And we can see that these actual tweets are very general support and not particularly for any aspect of the team. It's more general comments on the Olympics and the race and how the team have done on the day. So if we reset the map again once more and just have a look at the final aspect, which is the heat map. If we turn the heat map on, you can actually see here very well defined the route of the road race. So the heat map shows us how intense the clustering activity is, and you can see here that the route is very well picked out in the red, and round here down by Box Hill, back up and round and back into the London area. So some very nice summary visualization, interactive mapping to help you make sense of your results.